Greetings and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Kiyonah. Today, I would like to explore the topic of labels with you. And I'm not an expert on this subject, but it is important and I do want to understand it. Labels are a mental shortcut that we use to sort of speed up our decision-making processes. Like, I'm an activist, I'm a mother, I'm a person of color, I'm privileged, I'm this, I'm that, or they are this, they are that. And it helps us to put people in categories so that we can act accordingly, but it's kind of like pounding a big juicy orange into a square box, and all the other juicy parts fall off to the side, and all you have is what's in the box, and that leaves a lot to be desired. I'm just going to read to you what this guy wrote and see where it leads us. Labels, page 73, from Awareness, The Perils and Opportunities of Reality by Anthony DeMello. The important thing is not to know who I is or what I is, for you'll never succeed. There are no words for it. The important thing is to drop the labels. As the Japanese Zen masters say, don't seek the truth, just drop your opinions. Drop your theories, don't seek the truth. Truth is not something you search for. If you stop being opinionated, you would just know. Something similar happens here. If you drop your labels, you would know. What do I mean by labels? Every label you can conceive of except perhaps that of human being. I am a human being. Fair enough. That doesn't say very much. But when you say, I am successful, that's crazy. Success is not part of the I. Success is something that comes and goes. It could be here today and gone tomorrow, so that's not I. When you say, I am a success, you are in error and plunged into darkness. You are identifying yourself with success. The same thing when you say, I am a failure, I am a lawyer, I am a businessman, I am whatever. You know what's going to happen to you if you identify yourself with these things. You're going to cling to them. You're going to be worried that they may fall apart, and then that's where suffering comes in. That is what I meant earlier when I said to you, if you're suffering, you're asleep. Do you want a sign that you're asleep? Here it is. You're suffering. Suffering is a sign that you're out of touch with the truth. Suffering is given to you that you might open your eyes to the truth, that you might understand that there's falsehood somewhere. Just as physical pain is given to you, so you will understand that there is disease or illness somewhere. Suffering points out that there is falsehood somewhere. Suffering occurs when you clash with reality. When your illusions clash with reality, when your falsehoods clash with truth, then you have suffering. Otherwise, there is no suffering. Boy, I can really relate to that as far as labels and identity causing suffering. In regards to believing that I am a mother, I am a writer, I am an activist. Is that really what I am? That's my identity. And when I lost all of my manuscripts and things, and I experienced suffering to the point of having writer's block, I lost that identity. And I suffered for years grieving it and not really knowing who I really am. And I also lost my identity as a mother. In various custody battles, I felt murdered to the soul. And I was like, if I'm not a mother, then what am I? And same thing with an activist. When I got the writer's block, my social media management became very difficult. I had no passion to plow through all kinds of posts and articles and try to pick out what would resonate with our readers. And I just was like, I'm a failure as an activist. But am I a failure? Am I even an activist or a writer or a mother? Who am I? Well, when you get really down to the bare bones, when you've been stripped of all your labels, when President Trump is stripped of his labels, when a social worker is stripped of her labels, a teacher, your lover, your children, when you strip everyone of their labels, you strip everyone of their identity, and you bring them down to the core essence of who they really are, that's where you find the oneness, the holographic, fractalating oneness of pure spirit, that we are all eternal souls. We're made of soul energy, vibration, frequency, energy, light. And all these things are added on as layers, layer upon layer of conditioning and programming and expectations and achievements, building layer upon layer like an onion until you think that's who you are, or who your neighbor is, or who your enemy is. You identify with the labels. He's an asshole. She's a bitch. He's a monster. She's an abuser. He is this, that, and the other. She is this, that, and the other. Therefore, I don't like them. I don't have anything in common with them. I'm not going to hold hands with them in heaven. I hope I don't even go to heaven if they're going to be there. This is what causes suffering and separation. So labels, I think, are useful. They can give us a direction. They can give us some shape, when we pull out all of the infinite qualities of each person, we shape it like a clay pot, and we say, this is this. But that's not all they are, okay? I really find it helpful to do this exercise with my enemies. Okay, he's privileged. She's a sociopath. This family is narcissistic. They are dysfunctional. Therefore, they are toxic, and I will make my distance from them because I don't need that in my life. That is separation and suffering. And as activists, I don't think that's healthy. So labels can be helpful, I think, if they're empowering. But we have to remember that the labels are describing the identity that we have acquired in the world, and that these labels and identities can change for better or for worse. Someone can lose their success. They can lose their family. They can lose their minds. But when you strip all of that away, who and what are we? For some reason, it's coming to my mind to think of people on death row. People who are murderers, rapists, killers. They are labeled, they are locked away, they throw out the key, and those people never get out. They are imprisoned in that label permanently, right? So for activists who care about people in prison, we have to look beyond those labels or through those labels to the humanity of the soul that resides within. Even if they can't understand, and they're really horrible and they do deserve the death penalty, when they die and they pass through the veil, everything that is not holy will be burned away and annihilated, because negativity, pain, suffering cannot coexist with holiness in the higher dimensions. It just burns up like a comet in the sun. All of that stuff disappears instantly when you go through the veil. And all that's left is your pure essence. And from what I hear from people who have near-death experiences, that is extremely liberating and freeing. It's like dropping 10 tons of shackles off of yourself. Well, I wonder why we have to wait until we die to drop all of those layers and shackles of identity. You know, I've never done entheogens, but I've read books by Terence McKenna and other people who talk about going through these veils and portals and seeing your identity as this artificial construction, this thought construct, and how it's not who you actually are, but yet you believed it was, and then you drop it. Well, I would really like it if a lot more activists could see with those kind of eyes as we move through the world. You know, as I look at this narcissist, as I look at this sociopath, as I look at this privileged person, I need to see through the veil to their divinity, you know, and not leave them in that label, not leave the death row inmates in there alone, because I can reach down and pull them back up to the land of the living just with my awareness of their sacred eternal beingness. If a social worker knocks on your door, look at her as though she's divine. She's come to bring you a message. She's here to try to help you. Everything is here to help you, as Matt Kahn says. If somebody gets you pregnant and then abandons you and you want to just go nuts, just see through their attitude as someone who is privileged, a narcissist, a sociopath. Just see through that. Step back into your own power. Claim your own life and your own freedom, not dependent on them. And don't judge them. Just love them unconditionally, because they are at a level of awareness that is not the level of your awareness. You have to just understand where people are coming from. All the people in the world are at varying levels of awareness. And when we label people, it's like preconceived notions that set someone on a path that's almost inevitable. You know, I keep hearing these commercials about girls in Haiti not being able to afford tuition, so donate to this charity and all this. You know, and I'm like, why can't they educate themselves? Why can't they return to their tribal society they had before the 20th century? Why do they have to be trapped in this path where they have to go to a school where there has to be tuition and we need to have charities in America to raise money to pay for it? Like, my mind just runs through all these possibilities. Like, why do we label everything and say this is the solution, this is the plan, this is how it has to be, you know? And so those are my thoughts for today. This video is 13 minutes long now, so I need to start wrapping it up. I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is it would be good if we as activists could liberate ourselves from so much labeling, because labeling has a place that can give us direction in what to do, but it can also be really constricting and limiting. And we need to remember that all of us are so much more than our labels. Anybody who's gone through severe crisis knows that. I'm a mother, I'm a writer, I'm an activist, I have a good home and all this, and then boom, my children are gone, I'm homeless, I'm crippled by PTSD and I can't write, so now who am I? Ask yourself that. You're looking at these people that are homeless, they're in prison, they're survivors of trauma, and you say that's what they are. That's who they are. This is the path they get in life. It's like the caste system in India, in my mind. You are labeled as a Brahmin or an untouchable, you know, or whatever, and that's it. That's all there is to it. When actually everyone is a Brahma. I don't know that much about culture in India, but I hope you get my drift. You know, that all of us are sacred. All of us deserve to be loved and to be able to access what we need. But we're at varying levels of awareness. We're at varying phases of our journeys through life. You know, we can make a comeback if we've been down, and we can fall from grace if we're high up. So the labels are just, you know, markers of the current moment in time. They don't fully describe who someone is. So some people like to embrace labels, like I'm a person of color, I'm transgendered or whatever, and that's empowering. But just try to remember that that's only a small fragment of who they actually are. They've probably had 800 previous lifetimes of being all genders and all configurations of life. And that's just who they are in this version of life on this timeline. If we can find that way to see through the labels and not add to the suffering, you know, and to actually feel and practice oneness and connection by only seeing the divine first and then considering the labels, whether it's ourselves or someone else, I think we'll be able to be a lot more open-minded, open-hearted, compassionate, you know. So I guess the point for today is don't get stuck on labels. You know, peel those labels off, rub it with rubbing alcohol, make your crystal shine with all kinds of little surfaces that make a rainbow in the sun, and let everybody be free of their labels. They may believe in their labels, but you don't have to believe in their labels. They can say, I'm crippled, I'm this, I'm that. You know, Jesus Christ would go up to him and say, do you want to walk again? Yes or no? If they say no, that means they like their label, sitting on their mat with leprosy, begging for money. That's how they want to be, that serves them, so he leaves them alone. Do you want to pick up your mat and walk? If you do, that means you have to drop the label of your suffering, that you're crippled, that you have leprosy, that you are an untouchable, or seeing other people that way. He doesn't care about the labels. He's just like, do you want to walk or not? That's how we should be. We shouldn't say, well, you could walk if you weren't a cripple. You know, we should say, do you want to walk? So I just want to encourage you today to see through the labels, to loosen them up, let them go, and attempt to see the divine in everybody who you serve as an activist and for yourself. So until next time, be beautiful, be free, and be true to yourself. Be blissed and be blessed because you are. And as you go through your day, take care and take it easy. Cheers. Namaste, and I'll see you tomorrow.